Welcome to episode 5, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 5, Horace, and we're here to announce our first big change of this podcast. That is, drum roll, please.
It's a name change.
It's a name change. That's right. So, as you all know, we if you listen to episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, we've been calling this podcast the 5 a.m. Club. We've decided to change that up a little bit. We've decided to change the name to ours.
The 5 a.m. grind.
There it is, the 5 a.m. grind. I actually like that name better because there's something about the grind that's, I don't know, it just hits home a bit better.
It does feel like, it's, what does, when you hear grind, what do you hear?
Yeah, I hear like hard work,
Going against
the grain, staying the course.
Yep, resistance.
Exactly.
Struggling against it.
Yeah,
and
like, tenacity. Sticking with it. Perseverance, exactly.
So
that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's going to be called the 5 a.m. grind. So in episode 5, forgive me for checking my phone again. I don't memorize our topics, but I got to check what our topic for this week is going to be. And for this week, we've decided to go with answering questions about your network. So the topic of this podcast will be, why is your network important? Right? And we'll cover what is a network? How do you build a network? How have you used your network? So that'll be a question for myself and you too. And last, but certainly not least, if we have time, we'll cover, are networking events useful? I think that one a lot of people would like to hear, to be honest, including myself. So why is your network important? So let's start with the first one. What is a network? What is a network to you? What does that mean?
So I'll give you a long story.
Okay.
As I always do. But I think that when I first was in undergrad and when I started working, the network definition that I kind of held or thought was a network was basically the people that you knew, the people you went to work with, the people that you spoke to, your friends, right? Even some acquaintances. And I find that is an important network. But as I kind of grew in my business, I found out that the more important part of my network is it includes the suppliers and all these other stakeholders that are part of my business. I'll give you an example, okay?
Yeah.
So when you're doing, for example, a real estate transaction, for example, if you're buying a house, wherever you're buying a house, you might have a realtor involved. You might have a mortgage broker involved. You have several different parties. You have a bank involved. So there's several different parties. And it gets a bit hectic at times because everybody's playing a different role. So typically, I like to work with and conduct business with realtors and mortgage brokers that I know, because I know first the type of book of business that they have, the type of business that they're conducting, how they conduct themselves, and what the clients are exposed to before they come into our side of the services. Because you're not going to go to a lawyer first, you're going to go to a realtor first. They're going to show you houses. When you pick that house, now you need financing, so you're going to get in touch with a mortgage broker. And then when you have everything sorted out, you will go to a lawyer to close everything. So in that sense, you always, I would want to streamline those operations, and I want to know that I'm working with credible individuals. And truly, I find the most success I get is working with realtors and mortgage brokers repeatedly, and we refine that process. And after we refine that process, the clients just ultimately get a better experience. And so they will go and recommend everyone's in that network services to their to whoever they are talking to, right? For Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, that's what the talk is. You're no longer you're not a lawyer that provided a service or a law firm that provided a service. You're a network that has provided them the entire experience.
Right. So you're saying these people get together and they form a network because it's all around a particular transaction, right? That's how that network develops or forms. I'll go back to how you started this question. You said it sort of started in school for you, right? The concept of a network. It was the same thing for me, but I think what happened with school was they sort of tainted the concept of a network. And I'll explain why. Because whenever you were told to network at school, it was usually to get some sort of a job, or, you know, you're like kind of, let's be honest, quite desperate. You're in school, you're trying to get a job, you're trying to network, you're in a bit of a function or a wine and cheese, and you're told, okay, let me talk to this person. I don't know, I hope they like me, and somehow I guess they'll hire me for a job. It felt very transactional. I think what I've learned as I've progressed in my career, though, is that a network really is something that develops organically, like you said. So I like the example you used, which is it develops over a particular business transaction. So that certainly happens. So that's one concept of a network. And I'd say, you know what, a lot of your network, and I don't know for you if it's the same case for you. Horace is ignoring me, by the way, because obviously business is first, business before friends. So I think you develop over time simply because you keep in touch with, let's say, your classmates. So that's one network, right? And then it's just people you meet at work. Let's say you held a job somewhere and then you switch jobs or you switch career paths. It's just people that you meet in business, through walks of life, in school, that you keep in touch with. And it's sort of eventually organically built. And I don't like to call it a network. It's more of like, I guess you could say, a group of friends and acquaintances that you can go to if you have business problems, issues, or you're struggling with something, or to be honest, you need a favor, right? And it becomes people that you can rely on. And it doesn't become transactional at that point. It's just that, you know what, they're friends and acquaintances. If they need a favor, I'll be more than happy to help. And if you need something, you can certainly reach out and they'd be happy to help you as well, right?
No,
so it develops organically over time, right?
It develops organically.
And I think the concept was a bit tainted in school. It's after graduating that you realize, okay, a network is more sort of organically formed.
And it's exactly what I feel the same way, where it's like in school, when you were in undergrad, network it was like a one-way street.
Right.
You're trying to get something from this person. Where network is not like that. It's always, I find it to be a group of people working together to complete an aspect or a whole part of a common goal. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the resources that you have.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that evolved, but it also evolved to find out, like, again, I find like anybody that I'm working with in my business, that's part of my network.
Got it. So I guess we've sort of answered the next question, which was going to be, how do you build a network? And I think the way I would answer this one is, like you said, you get involved in business transactions, you meet different people, different professionals in a particular real estate transaction that you commonly deal with. And those people become part of your network. And I guess what I would say is, you as a business person, as a professional, and as an entrepreneur, in whatever field you are, your job is to go out there and sort of create these opportunities, whether it's, reaching out to someone because you got a business proposition to present or a problem to solve. And that's how you sort of build a network. It's sort of it is sort of active. You're not going to build a network by just sitting on your butt and expecting to somehow build one. It is a process where it requires you to be very, very deliberate about it and go out there and reach out to people and sort of slowly. And a network, it's not that you'll reach out to someone at one point and you'll be able to ask them something and they'll be able to help you out that first go round. It happens, these relationships take time to mature and blossom, right? You sort of have to nurture them. You keep in touch with people. I keep in touch with some of my old university and high school mates. And that's how you sort of build that network, right? It's sort of quality. You sort of nurture it over time.
So I would really divide it into two portions. There's the organic network growth that you have, just because as you're doing things, you're going to come across people that you didn't know, and it's very spontaneous, and that element of it is nice. But there's also a forced growth that you can have, an active network development.
Right.
I found like that happens like few times in life. Firstly, if you're like, the first day you go into high school, first day you're starting undergrad, first day you're starting any kind of grad school, whatever it is, first day of work, that is an active growth because now you're going out and you're getting to know people.
Absolutely.
And then when you're trying to find a job. I also think though, when for example, for a lot of people,
Yeah.
when they have a job down, it will slow down. Their networking and everything kind of fizzles
They take a step
out.
back. Yeah. Because they're
they
like,
don't
oh,
need
I've
it.
landed. Yeah. No,
So
absolutely. Because you have a job and now you're like, I don't need to
Yeah.
network. Let me just rest on my laurels. But I'd say like, that's when you're supposed to be you don't need to be like desperate and running out there to network,
Yeah.
but no, like always work at it a little bit.
Yeah,
Reach out to
100%.
people, reach out for
Yeah.
coffee, talk
Yeah.
about something, share your interests, because that's how it slowly sort of builds. Keep in touch with people. Yeah, it is a bit of a chore, but who said success and networking is easy? Nothing is,
Yeah.
right? Nothing just lands on your lap. It requires a little bit of going out of your way and sort of reaching out to people.
You
and
got to
keeping
put in the
touch.
effort.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely do.
And I feel like with businesses, this is what I've seen. This
Yeah.
is a common denominator.
Yep.
As soon as the active network development stops, the business growth stops. So you often have a founder in the beginning. You may not know what you're doing, and you're out there trying to figure things out. You're constantly talking to new people.
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable situation to be in, but you have to do it. And then once a business settles, right, you're maybe revenue positive, maybe you've hit your targets.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, if you are still uncomfortable with networking and you like where you are, which is a lot of businesses, they'll stop.
Right.
And then they coast, and then the business doesn't grow. However, if you get comfortable, or if you just want it to keep growing, you're going to actively be growing that network. And the more people you know, the more business activity. Like your network is your net worth. Now that's not just like a cheesy line, right? But it is actually very true because the network reflects how much effort you've put in.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just I've got a million friends on Facebook. It's how many people you're working with, how many people you do business with. So the more active you are, it'll show how much effort you've put in. It's a reflection of how much effort you've put into your business, into your life, into who you are.
Absolutely. And I'd echo that. It's not the number of people, it's more so try to focus on developing quality relationships that you can sort of, I hate to use or leverage because that sounds very, conniving and like I'm using someone. It's not like that. But that you can sort of lean on,
Like if you look at society, at our root, nobody's an island. We need one another to survive.
No, it's true.
You do some stuff, I do some stuff. So if I can offer you something and you offer me something back, right? Like if there's no money involved, it's called bartering, but then we don't feel as bad about it. But if I have to pay you and you have to pay me, all of a sudden there's like, oh my God, it's a transaction. It doesn't have to be a transaction. I like to do business with friends, I like to do business with the people I know.
That's so true. That's actually a really good point. Really good point. Absolutely true. So I'll go into, you sort of touched on this, answering the first question, and that is, how have you used your network? So how have you used it in the past? How has it benefit you?
How
have you used it? Like, give an example.
I'll give you're one of the examples I have, right? Because here's the thing.
Right here. Okay.
So when I first, even in law school, I had no idea what a services business was. Okay, I worked in the automotive industry. It's very different from providing a service. It's goods and marketing and everything. Even though there's overlap, it's still very different. Because with a service, especially in the beginning, it is your service that's standing out. It's who you are. Right. I had no idea how to navigate it. I just knew I wanted to do it. So I would lean on you a lot, and I'd ask you a lot of questions, and we'd go out for coffee all the time. And I'd ask you, okay, well, when this happens, what kind of response does your firm have when something of this size or caliber happens? Or how do they approach?
I remember those questions. I remember you and I discussing
because you had experience. You were working for Big Four. You worked for banks. You were in that
that professional services firm. And you were sort of looking to get that insight and experience.
So then,
and I didn't feel you. I mean, I know we're good friends, but I didn't feel used. I was like, I'm genuinely, surprisingly, the surprising thing about as you go on through life and you progress in your career, you tend to think whenever you'd ask someone that they'd feel bad about it, they wouldn't help you. But you'd be surprised as to how many people are actually quite open to help you. right?
Yeah.
All you have to do is reach out to them. And usually the biggest barrier is yourself. You always tell yourself in your head, oh, if I reach out to this person, they'll just say no. But just give it a shot. If they say no, so what? Okay.
Yeah.
Move on. Try someone else. Right?
Yeah, and the other thing
Don't
is,
block yourself from reaching out to someone.
and also I feel like you also have to be careful where you're getting your information.
Yeah.
And I trusted who you were and your work ethic and everything because we've known each other for so long.
Right.
So I knew that whenever you're giving me an answer, like you kind of speak your mind. There's no filter. So I know that that this is what it is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. That was really nice. All right. So we'll go into the next question, which is, are networking events useful in general? You remember them from undergrad, but I don't know if you've done any networking events as part of your business. In general, what's your opinion? Do you think they're useful?
Man. For undergrad, and there's like employers there.
Yeah.
Okay. My real opinion is yes and no.
I hate them.
Because here's the thing. Okay, so if you're looking for a job, you want to get to know somebody. Okay, and you have employers there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
The question then is what kind of people are showing up to these events?
Well, let's assume typical networking event, all yuppies.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like all like some of the events that you've gone to were all working professionals, sort of white collar jobs, typical lawyers, whatever, accountants, blah blah, finance professionals, that type of stuff. Would you think some of those events are helpful?
Would I? If when approached correctly, yeah, they are helpful.
Okay. Well, so what does that mean? Approached correctly.
So
like it's not like get into this room and go network, go make friends.
Yeah.
Or
I mean that's what it was before, right? Before they were like, oh yeah, you just need to talk to me. Undergrad, dude. It was like you got to go into this room and talk to as many people as you want. You're going out like an idiot. Like here's my card and can I have yours?
That's
and
so right.
Look how many I collected.
Exactly.
Like, you don't know what you're gonna do with them when you get home, man.
So what Horace is referring to, for those of you who are confused, is we in undergrad we went to these networking events and all we did was actually try and speak to as many people as we could and try to get the most business cards, right? Because to us, in first year and second year university, we didn't know any better. We were juniors. We thought, oh yeah, if you talk to a lot of people, that means equal success. But that's not what success is in networking. In networking, it's sort of developing some sort of relationship, right? And knowing that in that first networking event, you'll just talk to some people, have a good conversation, just a good conversation. That's all it is. And then keep in touch after them, because that's how it'll develop over time, as opposed to like getting as many business cards as you can.
I also feel before you go in, you need to know your objective. Why are you going here?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not to collect business cards.
Yeah.
Is it to get a job? Okay.
Yeah.
To get a job, what kind of job do you want?
Yeah.
Right. And then if you can figure out what type of people are there.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of research ahead of time.
Yeah.
To get to know who they are prior to speaking to them. Right. I don't know why we're going back to undergrad, but like you do that research.
Because honestly, it's tainted our networking a lot. It really has.
So you do that research, and then when you get there, for example, I want a job at this firm.
Yeah.
And they've sent this representative. Yeah. This guy has no way, like there's no way he's making any kind of decision. Yeah. But he can put me in touch with somebody who can.
Right. Okay.
And so then now you have an objective, right? Yeah. So now you're going to go and you're going to speak to them. Hey, listen, it was nice. Like, and at that point, then you're not going in and then talking about, hey, listen, I need you to get me into touch with X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. You're going and you're speaking to them, and even though you have the objective, simultaneously, you are trying to get to know the person. Yep. Right? What do we have in common? You're trying to build a connection, a relationship, so that person will introduce you to his network.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same thing with business, right? Like it's not like about going to these networking events. I got to know everybody. It's like, all right, well, what do I need? What kind of people do I need? What's my target demographic? Right? Yeah, yeah. And reality is, as bad as it sounds, I don't have enough. I've got a few good friends. Yeah. I don't need friends for the sake of being friends. I'd like to increase my business. Yeah, I'd like to be around people who have good ideas that we can have like those conversations with. Yep. So have a certain set of people, and I need to target those and isolate them when I'm going in any kind of networking event, so that I can kind of go through it effectively instead of collecting everybody's I'm doing them a disfavor, and I'm wasting my time as well. When totally.
So I'll answer the question. So this was, are networking events useful? I think they're definitely useful. But I like what you said when you were answering that question. And you said something like knowing your objective before going in. The way I've narrowed it down, this is my personal experience, and this works for me, is I go in with a very general mindset that I'm going to this event just to learn something. Learn something from someone. Because let's be honest, when you go through life, everybody in life, no matter who they are, there's always a morsel of some sort of information they can give you that's unique to their experience that you can learn. Yeah. There's always some insight that somebody can offer you, right? I find it very disingenuous and arrogant that people walk through life and they go, oh, nobody else can teach me something. I know everything. No, every person that walks the face of this earth can teach you something. So I usually go in and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk to a few people. I'm going to learn something about them, what they do. Maybe it sounds interesting, maybe whatever. And then we'll take it from there. Yeah. You know? So it's a very sort of general mindset. And I don't know. Like, okay, so I haven't networked for a job in a little while. Yeah. So I don't know if I was sort of in that position where I was an undergrad to get a job, how that would work. But to be honest, I do remember even in my fourth year, my approach to networking had changed because, in my second year, I was sort of after going, like I mentioned, going after those business cards and talking to as many people as I could. In fourth year, I think I sort of honed it in as well. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to talk to a few people, have good conversations so that person would remember me. And that was really the goal of those networking events. It's so that someone remembers you from those events. So when they get like all the resumes from the students applying for the job, they can be like, oh, I know this name. I've met this person and we talked about this. Right. Yeah. And that's, I think, the approach.
That goes a long way.
It does. It does. A long way. So that's the approach I take now, that, you know what, I'm just there to have a good conversation with a few people or whoever it is that I meet. And then, we'll take it from there.
And I think the networking part, we're focusing heavily on just like your net worth, whereas in like you're trying to get a job or you're trying to increase business. Yeah. But even if it's something else, like you love photography and you take those courses and wherever. Now, if you go to a meetup or anything else with other individuals.
Like photographers? Yeah.
And you know that you want to take a certain type of picture. Yeah. And you're having a hard time. Yeah. Your network, like that's where you can network and be like, all right, like I want to take this type of picture. Is there anybody here who can help me? You know what I mean? I want to create this type of style, or I want to, you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
And so that's your focus because you're looking to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's like.
It's actually so true. It's so true. Because people think of network and just in business and finding a job, etc. Yeah. But it's so much more. Like, people congregate around hobbies and passions. Like if I like hockey, I know like people who play hockey or the people who play at this league that I usually play with. And that becomes your circle, your network as well, right? These are people that you can approach because you have a problem in life, in business, in employment, whatever it is, they sort of become part of your network.
You want to be with high performers, people who are working all the time, right? To motivate you. That's you network to find those type of people. Whatever it is that you need to, like, that's your objective, right? Yeah. Like whatever. Organic networking is good, but later on in life, I feel like it needs to be more refined. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There is that element of curiosity where you kind of want to know and understand people and go into a networking session with openness. Yeah. Definitely. But I find more and more often I'm like, okay, I want to learn this task. Yeah. Or I want to do or complete this objective. Where can I find somebody that can help me come across this? Here's the one thing that I find extremely interesting. Right. People nowadays, you got like, not to bring anybody up, but like Tai Lopez, who had that viral YouTube commercial going, knowledge. Yeah.
And I remember Tai Lopez. Saw the YouTube ads.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I remember that.
And there's a lot of emphasis on reading books, but before there were books, people transmitted knowledge orally, and they still do. Yeah. More of the world still transmits knowledge orally. Like you learn orally through your parents before you can go anywhere else. You learn orally with your teachers, right? Yeah. With your friends. So then your network is basically you acquiring knowledge. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like the more you know, the more resources, the more perspectives, right, you have, the better you are equipped, not just with business. Yeah. Just for handling different things in life, man. Sometimes it could be something like as like job loss or loss of like somebody close to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The network that you have, right? If it's strong and sincere, they can tell you like, this is what I did to get, you know, through this, and this is what you should think about.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I think one thing I'll add about networking as well is that, you know, and you don't realize this until you get later in your career. You realize, for example, there are a couple of job positions that we're hiring for at the company I currently work for. And usually, like a lot of people, I don't know what it is. You like to hire people you know. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're more comfortable hiring someone you know. And, you know, as unfair as this sounds, and people know this, it's not usually, sometimes when you apply for a job, it's not usually, sometimes the most qualified person does get the job. But sometimes qualifications between professionals, like one CPA and another CPA, I mean, they're both designated. What's the difference, right? Sometimes it just comes down to, oh, okay, I know this person, so I'll hire them. Because to be honest, as human beings, sometimes it's hard to sort of become friends with someone you don't know. You're more inclined to be like, I am familiar with this person, I know them, or I know of them, so I'll hire them.
I think why this is not unfair and why this is very fair is when I started looking for people to hire for
your firm. Right. Firm. Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of, so you don't need, first of all, you just need a different level of criticalness to each job. Okay. But you're never going to find somebody who already knows a job and is just like put them in that place and they're going to start running off with it, right? Yeah. There's going to be a period of time where they're learning, they're picking up things, and they have to put in the effort. Right? Yeah. So you know from the beginning that there's some level of training this individual. So, but that training has to be complemented with the right amount of aptitude, right? Whether it's through experience or natural, that will help them get trained faster. So that's one thing. When you look at that, there is a lot of candidates, right? It's not like any of our businesses is rocket science.
No. So let me ask you, sorry. When you posted this job, how many applications? Did you get a lot? Did you get a lot of applicants?
For one of my first positions, I probably got like 100 applications within 4 or 5 days.
Whew. Yeah. So that is a lot.
Yeah. So then right away now, I'm looking at, there's all the things that where everyone is kind of trained for, right? Communicating effectively, right? All that stuff. That makes a big difference because I know that you're presenting yourself properly to me and that you're going to communicate effectively when there's an issue. That's fine. There's a lot of those, right? You can trim off a lot of people based on the fact that they're not like, they don't check off those boxes. Then you make sure that they have got the right aptitude. That's fine. Now you're still going to have a lot of people. Ultimate decision is the person you know. The reason being is because when I know someone, I trust them. Yeah. I know that they will show up and do the work. Right. I don't know this other person. There's an unknown there. And I don't want to trust, like when I'm doing my work, when there is a client file, whatever coming in at like 5 o'clock, right? I know that this person will handle it. Yeah. Right? We'll be there and we're working on it. They're not saying, hey, listen, I gotta go home.
There's a familiarity which reduces risk, right? It's sort of like human beings in general, we don't like risk. If you know someone or you're familiar with them, it sort of reduces that risk a little bit. No, right?
Trust is currency, man. And trust is the biggest currency you can have. I'd rather hire somebody who has no industry knowledge, right? But I trust them and trust
they're willing
them
to learn.
I trust them to know and learn and figure it out than somebody who's been in the industry for years.
And that you don't know, right? Or has somewhat of a tainted reputation and stuff. Yeah, no, totally agreed. Totally agreed. All right, so almost at the end here. Any parting words? Networking, like any sort of like your top 3 tips, or what's the one tip that someone should take away?
The one takeaway about networking is I would honestly never coast with networking. I'd always have it a part of my life, not necessarily just for like business growth or whatever, but it's personal growth. Yeah. The more people you know, different perspectives, the more I'm growing myself because I see different things. Yeah. And you know what? I think for me, I'd say exactly the same thing. Networking is one of those things you got to be very deliberate about. You got to reach out to people, be active about it, don't rest on it. Because you never know what life might throw at you. A curveball might come any second. You might get laid off from your job, let go, etc. And then you don't want to sort of be scrambling, trying to find and, build a network.
No, you already have it there. You can reach out to people and ask them, hey, this happened in my particular business or career. I'm looking for this particular job. Do you have an opening or is something available, right?
Yeah.
So then when you do need something, it's sort of out there and ready.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll end it there. That's ending it on a good note.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in. That was episode 5. Thank you for tuning into the 5 a.m. grind.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye.